I'm fine, sir. How are you?
I'm all right. Now, for the morning lessons, you guys, I sent you something to do. I uploaded some videos so that you would do something, and it was mainly about the properties, the properties of operation, the distributive properties of operation mainly. My question is, did anyone watch the video which I uploaded?
Sir, can you
Yes.
please speak loud? You can't hear you.
I'm saying that the video that I uploaded for you to watch for the previous lesson, did you watch it? Did you watch for the morning lessons? Did you watch the video? Sounds like you guys did not watch that video. So, okay, fine. Now, what we are going to do, in the video, I was explaining to you the different operations, what happened when an operation, is made on addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, like that. And the first operation that I talked about was about the distributive property. I'm going to share with you here a screen. Then as I share the screen, you can see what I was having in that lesson, because I'm going to prepare the assignment for this term 2. And the assignment for this term is going to include this thing which I discussed for you in the video. So what I'm going to do is, let me just really quick, let me share with you the screen for the topic which I shared with you. Here we go. Let me share with you really quick, and you just see for yourself. All right, so there we go. This is the screen. I think it should be showing for you shortly. In this screen, I'm going to be discussing with you the distributive property of addition. And that is the only thing I think we are going to have in our discussion for now. And you guys seem to have left. Is it a problem with the network or what? You guys seem to be having a problem with the network. Just really quick. All right, so can you guys now hear me? You guys, can you hear me?
Yes, so we can hear you.
Good. And can you see the screen I shared where I've written distributive property?
Yes, sir, we can see.
Good. So we are really going to do a quick one since you guys also entered late, so we don't have much time. So I'm going to be sharing. I'm going to be discussing this with you really quick, and the only thing we are going to discuss in this property of operation is the distributive property. Now, think of a number. Let's say you have a number like 7, right? Now, this number 7, when we multiply it, as an example, when we multiply it with a number like 2, all right? Rather, let's here is multiplication, yes. When we multiply a number like 7 by 2, then later to it, we add another number like 7 and we multiply it this time by 3. What we are going to get in this case, okay? What we are going to get in this case is going to be, well, when we multiply 7 by 2, what we get is what? Is 14. Then again, when we multiply 7 by 3, what we get is 21. And when we add 14 to 21, we get 35. Okay, now I want you to look at the second case. Think of having 7, and now this time you have a bracket. And inside the bracket, you have what? Inside the bracket, you have 5, which is being added. Rather, you have 2, which is being added to 3. Okay? Now, what happens in this case is that you can decide first to add what is inside the bracket here. Now, when you add what is inside the bracket, what you're going to get is going to be 5. So you can now have 7, then inside the bracket, you have 5, which is the same as 7 times what? It's the same as 7 times 5. Now, let's write this as 7 times 5, like this. So this will give us what? Well, this will give us 35. So you see, now, when you look at what we did in the first example, in the first step here, we multiplied 7 by 2, then we later added to 7 times 3, and we got 14 for 7 times 2, and later we got 21 for 7 times 3. We added these 2 and we got 35. Now in the second case, we had 2 and 3 inside the bracket and we had 7 outside the bracket. Now when we add 2 to 3, we get 5. We keep the 7 outside the bracket. But later when we now multiply this 7 by 5, because 7 with 5 inside the bracket means 7 times 5, and this gives us 35. What we are trying to say here is that at the end of the day, what we have got here gives the same value. Now, when we use this second approach, okay, rather when we use the first approach of first multiplying 7 by 2, then later 7 by 3. In other words, what we will have done is we will have distributed 7 onto 2 and also 7 onto 3. So when we distribute 7 onto 2, we get 7 times 2. Then when we distribute 7 onto 3, we get 7 times 3, which gives us 14 times 21, which gives 35. This one is true for you know, basically for any type of calculation you can think of. So we could even think of this one as the first activity. Then maybe the next activity could be, well, think of any number. This time we have 5, okay? 5, then inside the bracket you have 3 and what? And 7. Now, we can write this. We can decide to distribute 5 onto 3. When we distribute 5 onto 3, we will be multiplying 5 by 3. That is 5 times 3, giving us what? 15. Then, when we distribute 5 onto 7, 5 times 7, we get 35, you see? So what do we get here? 50. Now, you could also say, well, you want to add the numbers inside the bracket, which is what? Which is 3 and 7. Now, when you decide first to deal with the number inside the bracket, you decide first to add the number which is inside the bracket. Then what you're going to have is going to be 5 for what is outside the bracket. Then for what is inside the bracket, you have 10. Now, 5 with 10 inside the bracket means 5 times what? 5 times 10. That is 5 times 10. And what do we get for 5 times 10? Well, what we get for 5 times 10 is 50. Well, the question now is, why are we doing this type of thing? Okay? Why are we bringing in this type of thing? Now, we are bringing in this type of thing, which is called the distributive property on addition. Because there are times when you have an expression inside the bracket, but you cannot simplify them. You cannot add them to get one single value. Imagine, for example, okay, let's consider this case here. Supposing that you have this time 5 outside the bracket, but inside the bracket, for example, you have 2, you know, and some other number or some other letter like x. Now, because we don't know the value of x, the only thing we can do is to distribute 5 onto 2 and later 5 onto x. There is no way we can add 2 to x so that we get one single value, you know, like 8 or 10 or anything like that, the way we were doing it in the second case, you see. So in this case, we will distribute 5 onto what? 5 onto 2. In other words, we multiply 5 by 2. And when we multiply 5 by 2, what do we get? Well, before we even write what we get, we first have to distribute 5 onto x. So we are going to be having 5 times what? We are going to be having 5 times x. And so 5 times x added to 5 times 2 can then be simplified to 10, because when we multiply 5 times 2, we get 10. Then now 5 times x, we get 5x. What we have got here is 10 plus 5x is a result of the expansion of what is inside the bracket here. This is called the distributive property on addition. We can use that to help us do so many other questions. Okay, we can use the distributive property to do so many other questions. I would like you to look at this question here, which I had uploaded for you, but you guys did not, you did not do it. I just captured one part, which is about the distributive property. And we are supposed to use it in doing what? In simplifying these expressions here. Now, when you look at question 12 is having 3 outside the bracket. Then inside the bracket, you have x plus 4. So inside the bracket, which is x plus 4, we can now distribute x, rather 3 onto x and 3 onto 4. So let me just put it down as what? 3 into x plus 4. So this is another activity. So we have 3 outside the bracket. Then inside the bracket, what do we have? We have x plus what? Plus 4. Now, using the distributive method, what that means is that we have to distribute 3 onto x. Then we later have to distribute 3 onto 4. So when we distribute 3 onto x, that's the same as 3 times x. From it, we get 3x. Remember, there is a plus sign there, right here. Now we have to distribute 3 onto 4, which is the same as 3 times 4. That is 3 times 4. What will this give us? Well, for the first one, which is 3 times x, I could have written here 3 times x. Let me just put it as 3 times x first. 3 times x, then 3 times 4. So 3 times x gives us 3x. Now we have to add that one because there is a sign of addition here. We have to add that to 3 times 4, which is what? Which is 12. And this is what we get. This one here, 3x plus 12 is what we get when we expand 3 times x plus 4. Now I'm going to again look at the next question, and we use it. We use this distributive method to solve the next question. So what's the next question? Well, the next question is right here, question 13, where we have 10, then b minus 6. So in the next question, we have 10 outside the bracket. Inside the bracket, we have b minus 6. So how can we simplify this? Because the question will ask you to simplify or to write it in a simple way. To simplify this, then that means we have to distribute 10 onto b, then later we distribute 10 onto 6. When we distribute 10 onto b, what that means is we have to multiply what? We have to multiply b by 10. That is 10 times b. Then minus, okay? There is a minus here. In the previous case, it was a plus, but this time it's a minus. So because we have a minus here, now we have to distribute this 10 after the minus, that is distribute the 10 onto 6, which is the same as what? It's the same as 10 times what? Times 6. You see? So that way, we get the final answer as being 10 times b, which is 10b, okay? 10 times b is like 10 of b. Like you have b for the first time, b for the second time, you know, very much like what we have in our daily life, like after buying oranges. Then you have the first orange, the second orange, the third orange, the fourth, until you reach like 10. And so you call it 10 oranges. So 10 times b is 10b minus 60. That is how you distribute. Now, I will again distribute. I will again pick one more question before I can take one question from you guys. So just really quick, here is what we have. In the next question, we have what? We have 6. Then we have s minus 9. 6 is outside the bracket. Inside the bracket, we have s minus 9. So the question is, how do we handle this? Well, we have to distribute 6 onto s, then later we distribute 6 onto 9. So when we distribute 6 onto s, this is the same as what? 6 times s. Then there is minus there, this one here. Now we have to distribute 6 onto 9. You can't hear me completely?
Yes, sir.
Then what could be the problem? Because I'm really speaking loud. I'm speaking really a lot loud. But can you see the steps? And are you following the steps? Can you see what I am doing here, at least? Can you guys see what I'm doing? Because I don't have any sound problem system here. Everything is fine. It's just that I'm speaking a little bit softly, but I am loud. I'm really loud. And this is the last example that I wanted to use to show you this distributive property, beyond which it's now your part. So you see the way we have been doing it here. Now we multiply 6 by s so that we get 6s. Then we have a minus there. Now the next thing here is we have to multiply 6 by what? We have to multiply 6 by 9. Well, when we multiply 6 by 9, let me see on my calculator. 6 by 9 gives 54. So you see the final answer is 54. That is how we distribute. Now, here is the question. Can you guys try question 15, which is 7 into 8 plus 9? Question 15 is 7 into 8 plus rather 9 y. 7 into 8 plus y. Let me write it for you here. This is now an activity for you. The question is 7 into 8 plus what? Y. Like that. Okay, so you guys, that is your task now. Distribute that. Do that and tell me what you have got. Okay, can you guys do that? This is a task for you. Solve it. Solve the activity. Yes, do it and let me know what you have got. Yes, when you are done with that, you soon see that for this question, well, you have to distribute 7 onto 8. Here, 7 onto 8 and later 7 onto y. So that means you're going to be having 7 times what? 7 times 8. And then later you add it onto 7 times what? 7 times y. Like that. And the final expression would be, well, 7 times 8 is 56. So I'll be having here 56. That's what? 7y. That would be the what? That would be the answer for this question.